Okay, we're doing set 2 mug. First correction, when you start a sentence with when, you're going to need a comma somewhere because you have an introductory phrase. Here the comma goes after 1610. The real sentence is church leaders were angry. The when astronomer Galileo observed sunspots in 1610 is the introduction. Wasn't is a contraction. You always put the apostrophe where the missing letter would be. Here it would be the O and not. The semicolon for the independent clauses goes after perfect. With today, we are starting a new thought, so we need to start a new sentence. And remember, it's always semicolon, start a new sentence, or comma conjunction to combine two independent clauses. This is the incorrect no. Of course, we want the knowledge no, which is spelled K-N-O-W, and that is all. Next one. Kind of a gross one. Millions of creatures live in and on our bodies. The human armpit, for instance. All right, there's a couple things. First of all, here's where the semicolon goes. Remember, semicolon is the dot over the comma, and that's to join independent clauses. Millions of creatures live in and on our bodies is a complete sentence. The human armpit, for instance. For instance is the interrupter. And we always put commas before and after interrupter. We don't need this. We could just say the human armpit has up to 500 million bacteria. For instance is the interrupter. While we're here, instance and stance. These are hard. You just have to remember them. In class, I talked about some mnemonic devices on how to remember to spell some of these. In the last correction, tiny, insignificant pinhead. These are coordinate adjectives. When you have two adjectives, it's a tiny pinhead and it's an insignificant pinhead, comma in between them. Basically, it's taking the place of an and. Next one, French author Georges Sand. Born July 1st. We always put a comma between the day and year. And then we want one after. We always put one after the year. Also, we put one before this because this is the explanatory phrase. It's just a type of interrupter. The real sentence is French author Georges Sand was a well-known rebel. So this is extra, stuck in the middle for some explanation, commas around it, and then commas for the date. Well-known is your single thought adjective. It's not a well rebel, it's a well-known. When these two words go together to describe the noun, they need the hyphen. For the following reasons. This is when you use a colon, which is the dot over the dot, before a list. When you have a phrase like the following. There are some other phrases that you can use, but that's a common one. Now we have a list. She took numerous lovers. More information we needed. She dressed in men's clothes. All right, so that's the list. Two more corrections. Whose clothes? Men's clothes. The only reason we added the S on the men is to make it possessive, so you have to have the apostrophe, and clothes is spelled with an ES, or else it's cloths. Next one. Courting. A lot of times if you start a sentence with courting, it's another introduction. So according to a study published in the January 1995 journal, Archives of Pediatrics and Adolescent Medicine, comma, big long introductory phrase. Journal is spelled A-L, journal. It all sounds the same, but they are spelled differently. And Archives of Pediatrics and Adolescent Medicine is a journal, and a journal is a lot like a magazine, and we underline magazine titles if we're writing, we italicize if we're typing. Athletes' back pain. We're talking about all athletes with back pain, so it's plural and possessive, so the apostrophe goes after the S. And I believe, we do have single thought adjective. What kind of symptoms? Back pain symptoms. They have to go together. It's not back symptoms and it's not pain symptoms. It's back pain. When they have to work together, that's what you have to do. And the last one, head lice lay their eggs, which are called nits. As we talked about earlier, you always put a comma before which, and that interrupter ends after nits. In people's hair. Consequently, just hatch lice. All right, now we're starting something new. This is where they want you to put the semicolon. A lot of times when we start a sentence with an adverb, we're going to need a comma after it. It's called a conjunctive adverb. Consequently, is a common one. We'll talk about more common ones as we go, and I'll give you a clue on the quiz. Just hatched lice, that works together, so we need to hyphenate it. Ready to eat is a single thought adjective describing the food source. Source is S-O-U-R-C-E in the blood just under their host scalps, and I believe that's it. Okay, good luck on the quiz.